We're about to dive into a really powerful, true story. It comes from Amanda LaPera's book, Losing Dad. And it's a raw, honest look at what happens when a family's entire world just gets completely turned upside down. This is the story of that first crisis, that one moment when everything started to change.
Okay, let's just start right here. Picture this. It's May of 2000. You come home, you check your answering machine, and this is the message you hear. It's from your dad, a dad you haven't seen or heard from in over a year. I mean, you recognize the voice, but the words, they're just off. They're strange, desperate, almost frantic. And believe me, this one message, this was just the beginning of a huge, heartbreaking mystery.
So you're probably wondering, right? How does a father just disappear from his family's life for a whole year and then suddenly reappear with a message like that? Well, the answer isn't in that phone call. To really get what's going on, we have to rewind. We've got to go back 4 years, back to a time before everything started to unravel. All right, so here's where the story really begins. August 1996. Let's talk about Joseph. He's 53, living a totally normal life. You know the picture. Husband, dad, house in the suburbs. He was the definition of stability. But one single week that August, that was the turning point that would change everything for him and for his family forever. I mean, Joseph had done everything right, you know? He was a college grad, had this long, steady career as a computer programmer, was raising his family out in California. Life was predictable. And then, suddenly, it wasn't. It all started with that news from a doctor that just stops your heart. It's cancer. And what's so wild is just how fast all of this happened. It was a total whirlwind of trauma. Day one, he gets the cancer diagnosis. Just 2 days later, he's in for surgery, and it's successful. Things are looking good. But then, only 2 days after that, a catheter procedure goes terribly wrong, and he's rushed back into an emergency surgery. Think about that. He was put under general anesthesia twice in less than a week. That's a lot for anyone's body and mind to handle. And this quote just says it all. Physically, yeah, he recovered. He was sent home. But his daughter's words here, they really capture this scary, invisible change that took place. Something deep down had shifted during that week. The man who came home was not the same man who went into that hospital. So what did that change actually look like? Well, for his family, it was like stepping into this confusing, frightening new world. The man they all knew and loved started to just disappear. He called it being in a fog.
Just look at this difference. It's night and day. Before, Joseph was that dad, you know? The one playing ball with his kids in the yard, always laughing, full of energy. And after? He was like a stranger living in their house. He was quiet, easily agitated, and started saying these wild things, accusing the neighbors, even the FBI, of being out to get him.
And from there, the paranoia just snowballed. First, he was convinced people were following him everywhere. When his wife, Hilda, would try to talk to him about it, he'd just accuse her of making it all up. Doctors gave him medication, but he wouldn't take it, said the side effects were awful. He kept saying that drugs made his mind feel like it was in a fog. And then it got even worse. He started hearing voices. He actually called his daughter Amanda in secret. Can you imagine getting a call like this from your dad, whispering these words into the phone? He was telling her that people were watching him, the neighbors, the FBI, and that voices, maybe angels, were warning him. It was a full-blown conspiracy, and he was at the center of it. So all of this fear, all of this paranoia, it was like a pot about to boil over. And the breaking point? Well, it came on a night that's already kind of spooky for everyone, Halloween. That night, his teenage son Keith was out at a party, and Joseph's paranoia zeroed in on him. He became absolutely convinced that his own son was going to come home and harm them. The fear was so real to him, so powerful, that he decided they weren't safe in their own home. He actually forced his terrified wife, Hilda, to get in the car with him and just flee. They were running from a danger that was completely in his head. And the whole crisis came to a head the very next morning. Joseph didn't come home. He went to work. And that's where his coworkers found him, not working, but hiding under his desk, absolutely terrified. This was it. This was the moment his private nightmare became a public breakdown. You just couldn't ignore it anymore. So after that scene at his office, things moved fast. There was an intervention, and finally, finally, the family got a name for the terrifying thing that had hijacked the man they loved. Right from his office, Joseph was taken to a mental hospital. It was involuntary, against his will. This was the first time, and it marked the beginning of a really long, really painful journey through the mental health care system. At the hospital, a doctor sat down with Hilda and gave her the news. Just imagine hearing these words. Your husband has paranoid schizophrenia. And the doctor added that it was really unusual for a severe mental illness like this to show up so late. Joseph was 53. Most of the time, this happens to people in their late teens or early 20s.
So what exactly is paranoid schizophrenia? Well, at its core, it's a brain disorder. It completely shatters a person's reality. And it's defined by exactly what Joseph was going through, that intense paranoia, the delusions that feel so real, the hallucinations. And here's the kicker. The paranoia itself makes treatment so hard. How can you help someone who's convinced you're part of the conspiracy against them? But wait, there's another piece to this. The schizophrenia diagnosis, that was really only half the story. There was a second, absolutely crucial part that explained why he couldn't see he was sick, why he fought so hard against getting help. And that piece is a condition called anosognosia. It basically means you have no awareness that you're sick. And I really want to stress this. This is not denial. It's not someone being stubborn. It's a physical symptom caused by the damage to the brain. It's like how a stroke patient might not realize their arm is paralyzed. Joseph's brain was literally incapable of seeing that it was ill. So there they were. The family finally had these two devastating words: paranoid schizophrenia and anosognosia. They were standing at the starting line of this unimaginable journey. They had names for the monster, but they had no clue how to fight it. How do you fight an illness when the person who has it is convinced there's nothing wrong?
And that really leaves us with the central, heartbreaking question of this whole story. And it's a question millions of families face every single day. When the person you love can't see that they're sick, when their own brain is telling them they're fine, where does hope even begin?